Today, let's take a look at a summary of World Economic Forum Future of Jobs 2025 report. Link to the whole report will be in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Enjoy listening to the summary.
Have you ever wondered what the world of work will truly look like 5 years from now?
Like, are robots really taking over everything?
Or are new opportunities blossoming in places we might not even expect?
Well, today we're going to try and get some answers.
We're doing a deep dive exploring how we can actively shape that future, both as individuals and maybe as employers too.
Welcome to the deep dive. And our guide today is a really significant report. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025.
This isn't just guesswork, is it?
Not at all. It's built from a huge survey over 1,000 global employers, representing more than 14 million workers across 22 industry clusters and 55 economies.
And it's got some serious data partners too, right? Like ADP, Coursera, Indeed, LinkedIn.
That's right. They bring in even more real-world data to enrich the analysis.
So our mission today is pretty clear. Unpack the most important nuggets from this massive report.
We'll look at the big trends reshaping the labor market.
Figure out which jobs might boom or, well, bust.
Pinpoint the skills you'll likely need.
And see what strategies employers are actually adopting to try and navigate all this change.
Okay, so let's kick off with the big picture. The overall outlook for global employment by, say, 2030.
And the headline is?
It's actually net positive, but there's significant churn underneath.
Right, it's not just smooth sailing upwards.
Not at all. It's more like a massive recalibration.
So break down those numbers for us. That recalibration sounds intense.
It is. The report estimates a staggering 170 million new jobs could be created.
The net result is?
Net growth of about 78 million jobs. That's roughly a 7% increase in total employment globally.
But that churn number is key, isn't it? The jobs changing or disappearing versus the new ones.
Exactly. We're looking at a structural labor market churn of 22% of today's formal jobs.
22%. So basically, 1 in 5 jobs we see today might be significantly transformed or even replaced.
That's the takeaway. It paints a picture of, yes, growth, but also immense ongoing disruption.
Which means adaptability isn't just a nice to have for you listening, it's becoming essential.
The core currency, really, for career longevity.
Okay, so these huge shifts, they're not happening in a vacuum. The report points to 5 big interconnected macro trends driving it all.
That's right. 5 key drivers shaping everything.
Can you walk us through those quickly?
Sure. First up, no surprise, technological change, especially generative AI and robotics speeding things up.
Okay, tech first. What's next?
Then number 2 is economic uncertainty. Think rising cost of living, maybe slower global growth impacting decisions.
Makes sense. Third?
The green transition. All the efforts around climate change mitigation, adaptation, reshaping industries.
Right. Number 4?
Demographic shifts. This covers both ends, aging populations in some places, rapidly growing working age populations in others.
And the last one?
Number 5 is geoeconomic fragmentation. Basically, rising geopolitical tensions, trade restrictions, that kind of thing.
So technology, economy, green transition, demographics, and geopolitics.
Exactly. And they're not separate silos. They're all tangled up, influencing each other and redefining work.
Okay, we've laid out the 5 big forces. Now, the real question is, how are these actually, playing out on the ground?
Could zoom in.
Let's start with the one everyone's talking about. Technological change. That digital revolution feels like it's really hitting hyperspeed.
It really is. And broadening digital access, just getting more people online and connected, is seen as the most transformative trend overall.
60% of employers expect that to reshape their business by 2030. Just access alone.
Yeah. And then you dive deeper into AI and information processing. 86% of businesses expect those technologies to transform things.
86%. And generative AI, Gen AI, that's obviously a huge part of it.
Oh, absolutely. Investment in AI has shot up like nearly 8-fold since ChatGPT burst onto the scene in late 2022.
Because it's just so much easier to use, right? You don't need to be a coder.
Exactly. It lowers the barrier significantly. You can talk to it, basically.
So what does this explosion in accessible AI mean for, your daily work? The report talks about augmentation versus substitution.
Right. It's a key distinction. Gen AI can empower folks in less specialized roles. Think accounting clerks, maybe nurses, teaching assistants. Give them new tools.
Or it could help highly skilled pros, electricians, doctors, engineers stay on the cutting edge.
Precisely. Augmenting their abilities. But there's a warning, too. If the focus shifts purely to replacing human tasks, just cutting costs, it really risks increasing inequality.
So how do we make sure it leans towards augmentation? That seems critical.
Well, the report definitely pushes that angle. It's about seeing AI as a collaborator, a tool for people.
Enhancing human capabilities, not just eliminating jobs.
Which means training people to use these tools effectively, focusing on that human-AI interaction. Robots and autonomous systems, 58% of employers expect those to transform their businesses.
And that stat about robot density, it
Doubled in just 7 years. We hit 162 industrial robots per 10,000 employees globally in 2023.
so more than 1.5 robots for every 100 human workers, on average.
It's a concrete measure of how these technologies are physically reshaping workplaces, from factories to warehouses and beyond.
Okay, moving beyond tech, let's talk economic uncertainty. It feels like this is just as powerful a force.
It really is. The rising cost of living actually ranks as the second most transformative trend overall.
Wow. Second only to digital access.
Yeah, 50% of employers expected to transform their business by 2030. And it's directly driving demand for certain skills.
Like what?
Things like creative thinking, resilience, flexibility, skills needed to navigate instability.
And the general economic slowdown, how does that play in?
That's expected to transform 42% of businesses and directly displace maybe 1.6 million jobs globally.
So this isn't just abstract economics. Global inflation, slower growth, they have a direct impact on job creation, job losses, and even the type of skills employers are suddenly prioritizing for you.
Exactly. It's not just about what technology can do, but what the economic climate demands.
Now, the green transition. Reshaping industries for sustainability, this feels like a huge area of change, too.
Definitely. Climate change mitigation, that's things like reducing emissions. 47% of employers expect that to transform their business.
And adapting to the changes already happening.
Climate change adaptation. 41% expect that to drive significant organizational shifts.
And this is creating new roles.
Absolutely. We're seeing demand surge for roles like renewable energy engineers, environmental engineers, specialists in electric and autonomous vehicles.
And you mentioned a shift in skills, too.
Yes, this is quite significant. For the very first time, environmental stewardship has cracked the report's top 10 fastest growing skills list.
So environmental awareness isn't just a niche concern anymore. It's becoming a core competency.
It really is, across many different sectors. So
So-
connecting this to the bigger picture for you, it suggests these green initiatives aren't just policy talk. They're genuinely opening up totally new career paths.
Paths that need a mix of technical know-how and maybe a stronger ethical compass. Okay, next up. Demographic shifts. Population dynamics. Let's start with higher income economies. Many are facing aging populations, right?
Yes, and declining working age populations in some cases.
Yeah.
40% of employers globally see this as a key driver of transformation. It's a big deal.
So what does that actually mean for jobs and skills?
Well, directly, it pushes growth in healthcare. Think nursing professionals, elder care, obvious link there.
Makes sense.
But it also increases demand for skills related to managing talent, teaching, mentoring, motivation. You need to get the best out of the experienced workforce you have.
And does it link to automation?
Interestingly, yes. Employers who are most impacted by aging populations are actually more likely to accelerate automation.
Why is that?
It seems to be a strategy to maintain productivity, maybe fill gaps left by a shrinking labor pool. 79% of them are accelerating automation versus 73% globally.
And augmenting the workforce, too.
Yeah, 67% versus 63% globally, using tech to help the existing workers do more.
So automation isn't just a cool tech trend. In some places, it's a direct response to demographic pressure.
Exactly. Now flip that. What about regions with expanding working age populations, often lower income economies?
What's the impact there?
Well, 25% of employers see that as transformative. It tends to fuel growth in education reason. You need more teachers, especially higher education, to skill up that growing workforce.
And their strategy is different.
Very much focused on reskilling and upskilling. A huge 92% of employers in those regions plan to prioritize training strategies by 2030.
So it really raises the question for you listening. How do these global population shifts play out specifically in your region? What jobs and skills are likely to be in demand based on your local demographics?
It's a crucial local context question.
Finally, the fifth trend. Geoeconomic fragmentation, global tensions, trade issues.
Yeah, this one's increasingly significant. Geopolitical tensions are expected to force business model changes in about a third, 34% of organizations surveyed.
That's substantial. And trade restrictions.
Over a fifth, 23% point to those as shaping how they operate, and the WTO data backs it up. Trade restrictions apparently doubled between 2020 and 2024.
Wow. So how does this political and economic tension translate into jobs and skills?
Well, you see more demand for security roles, security management specialists, information security analysts. That makes sense.
Protecting assets and data in a more uncertain world.
Exactly. But also more demand for those core human skills, resilience, flexibility, agility, leadership, people who can navigate complexity and uncertainty.
And what about supply chains? Reshoring versus offshoring.
Yeah, this is interesting. Employers who expect geoeconomic factors to transform their business are 50% more likely than the average employer to be planning to reshore operations, bring them back home.
So for you, these big global political shifts aren't just headlines. They could directly influence supply chains and maybe even create job opportunities closer to where you live.
Potentially, yes. It's shifting the geography of work.
So we've covered the 5 big forces. Let's pivot now to the jobs themselves, the nitty-gritty. Who's up, who's down by 2030?
Let's start with the fastest growing jobs in percentage terms. So, highest rate of growth.
And I bet technology features heavily here.
You bet. Big data specialists, fintech engineers, AI and machine learning specialists, software developers, security management specialists.
Any non-tech standouts in that fastest growing list?
Yes, the green energy transition roles are right up there too. Autonomous and electric vehicle specialists, environmental engineers, renewable energy engineers, high growth rates.
So that's percentage growth, but what about sheer volume, largest growth in just the number of jobs?
This is where it gets really fascinating and maybe surprising.
Go on.
The job projected to see the single largest growth in absolute numbers is farm workers.
Farm workers,
Really?
really?
An estimated 35 million more farm worker jobs globally by 2030.
Wow. That really cuts against the robots taking over narrative. What else in high volume?
Also delivery drivers, construction workers, salespersons, food processing workers, very foundational roles.
And the care economy, education.
Huge growth there too. Nursing professionals, social work and counseling professionals, personal care aides, plus tertiary and secondary education teachers, all set for significant absolute growth.
So the future isn't just high-tech coders and AI specialists. It's also very much about these essential, often hands-on, human-centric roles. What jobs are facing the steepest decline in absolute numbers?
The biggest hits are expected in clerical and secretarial work.
Like
Cashiers and ticket clerks, administrative assistants, executive secretaries, postal service clerks, bank tellers, data entry clerks. Roles highly susceptible to automation and digitalization.
Are there any surprises in the declining list? Roles we maybe didn't expect?
Yes, actually. Graphic designers and legal secretaries are now showing up among the fastest declining roles, specifically because of AI's capabilities.
That is a big shift. It shows AI isn't just automating simple, repetitive tasks anymore, but also impacting creative and knowledge work that involves processing information.
Precisely.
What jobs in your field might be changing or becoming less relevant? And just as importantly, where are those unexpected opportunities popping up, maybe in those high-volume, less hyped sectors?
Understanding these dynamics is really key to navigating your own path.
Absolutely. Which brings us neatly to the skills outlook. What do you actually need to know or be able to do?
Well, the report estimates that, on average, workers can expect about 2/5, 39% of their current skills to be transformed or even become outdated by 2030.
39%. That's still a lot of change for your skill set.
It is significant, yes. But interestingly, that rate has actually slowed down. It was 44% in the 2023 report and hit a high of 57% back in 2020. The report suggests it's partly because a larger share of workers, about half now, have actually completed some form of training recently.
So more people are actively upskilling.
It looks that way. And maybe employers are getting better at identifying the right skills to train for, focusing more on foundational or transferable skills.
Does this mean you can relax a bit on the learning front?
I wouldn't say relax, but it is perhaps encouraging. It suggests the frantic pace might be settling into a more manageable but still continuous rhythm of change.
So lifelong learning is still the name of the game.
Absolutely critical.
Right.
The commitment to learning remains paramount, even if the rate of obsolescence has dipped slightly.
Okay, so what are these crucial skills? The ones growing fastest in importance?
Technologically, it's AI and big data right at the top. The networks and cybersecurity and just general technological literacy, understanding how tech works.
Makes sense. What about the more human side?
Cognitive and human-centered skills are huge. Creative thinking is way up there. Resilience, flexibility, agility adapting to change, curiosity and lifelong learning itself is listed as a key skill. Exactly. And remember, environmental stewardship, that new entry into the top 10 fastest growing skills.
Right. So conversely, what skills are declining in importance, relatively speaking?
Well, some foundational skills like basic reading, writing, and math are seeing less emphasis, perhaps as AI assists with those.
Interesting. What else?
Manual dexterity, endurance, precision for the first time. These physical skills show a net negative decline, likely due to robotics and automation.
Okay.
And even things like dependability, attention to detail, quality control is still important, obviously, but their relative importance might be shrinking as AI tools handle routine checks and verification. It's about where the highest value is now.
This brings us back to Gen AI. There was that analysis by Indeed using GPT-4o.
Yes, very interesting piece. They looked at over 2,800 specific skills.
And found?
They found that 0 of those skills had a very high capacity to be just flat out replaced by current Gen AI tools. 0.
0. That's reassuring.
It is. And the vast majority, 69%, had very low or low capacity for substitution by AI, especially tasks needing physical action, nuanced judgment, or hands-on work.
What about human interaction skills? Empathy, listening.
No substitution potential shown there. Same for manual dexterity. AI isn't shaking your hand or comforting a patient.
Where does AI show more potential for substitution?
Mainly in skills that rely heavily on theoretical knowledge or digital manipulation. Things like data mining, applying machine learning, summarizing text, drafting emails, translation.
So tasks involving processing and manipulating information digitally.
Exactly. Which strongly suggests Gen AI's main role, at least for now, is augmenting what you do, making you more efficient at certain tasks rather than replacing your entire function.
That distinction feels absolutely crucial for how you should think about AI in your own career. It's a tool, not necessarily a replacement.
Precisely. And employers seem to get this. Partly. Remember, 63% identify skill gaps as the biggest barrier they face in transforming their business.
So they need people with the right skills, which leads to the reskilling imperative.
A massive one. If the global workforce was just 100 people, 59 of them would need some kind of training by 2030. Now, employers think they can upskill 29 of those in their current roles and maybe upskill and redeploy another 19 into new roles.
Okay, that covers 48 out of the 59. What about the rest?
That leaves 11 out of 100 who employers fear might not get the necessary training. Their job prospects are potentially at risk.
That's a significant chunk of potential social equity challenge if that gap isn't addressed. How are companies planning to pay for all this training? Is it all on the employee?
Mostly not, it seems. 86% of employers expect to fund their own training programs. Government funding, around 20%, and public-private partnerships, around 18%, are also expected to play a role.
And they see a return on this investment.
Definitely. They expect training to boost productivity, 77% say this, improve competitiveness, 70%, and importantly, help retain talent, 65%.
So for you, the message is clear. Investing strategically in your own skills development gives you a huge amount of control over your future trajectory. The question is, which skills should you prioritize?
That's the million-dollar question for everyone.
Okay, let's broaden out again. Workforce strategies. How are employers actually responding to all these changes on a strategic level? What are they doing?
Well, the number one strategy by far is upskilling their current workforce. 85% of employers list that.
Investing in the people they already have? What else?
Number two is accelerating process and task automation, 73%. So using tech to handle certain things.
Okay.
Then hiring new staff who already have those emerging in-demand skills, 70%.
Bringing in new talent.
And fourth is complementing and augmenting the workforce with new tech, 63%, giving existing staff better tools.
It sounds like a mix. Train current staff, automate some tasks, hire new skills, and provide better tech.
That's a good summary. It's a multi-pronged approach.
What about just keeping people? Talent attraction and retention in this.
A big focus is on supporting employee health and well-being. 64% of employers prioritize that.
Beyond just salary.
Right. Though effective reskilling, upskilling, and improving career progression pathways are also seen as key retention tools.
Is there alignment between what employers think retains people and what employees actually want?
There's a slight disconnect. According to some ADP research mentioned, employees apparently prioritize things like pension policies more than employers realize. Also, talent progression, higher wages, and remote hybrid work options remain really important to employees.
Interesting. Employers might need to listen a bit closer there. What about wages generally? Are they expected to go up?
Just over half, 52% of employers do anticipate allocating a greater share of their revenue to wages by 2030.
That's quite a shift. Why? Is it just inflation?
The main drivers cited are trying to align wages better with worker productivity, 77%, and, frankly, just competing harder for talent, 71%.
So paying for performance and paying to attract and keep the skilled people they need?
Essentially, yes. Recognizing the value of human capital in a tight market for certain skills.
How are employers figuring out who has those skills? How are they assessing candidates?
Work experience is still number one. 81% rely heavily on that.
Practical experience counts most.
Skills assessments. Actual tests of capability are growing in use, up to 48%.
So proving you can do it.
Right. Requiring a university degree is still common, about 43%, but its relative emphasis seems to be declining a bit compared to actual experience and skills tests.
But degrees aren't irrelevant, especially for certain roles.
The report notes that 14 out of the 15 fastest-growing jobs, percentage-wise, typically do require a university degree, often those high-tech roles.
Ah.
But only 7 out of the 15 largest-growing jobs, in absolute numbers, demand an advanced degree.
So those high-volume roles, construction, care work, farm work, rely more on other pathways.
Exactly. It highlights the really important role of vocational training, apprenticeships, on-the-job experience for a huge swath of the growing job market.
So for you, navigating your career or applying for jobs, it seems the message is demonstrate your skills, highlight your experience, and understand that while degrees matter for some paths, they aren't the only way forward for many growing roles.
It's becoming more about what you can do, not just where you learned it.
And specifically thinking about AI adoption, how are employers planning to adjust their workforce?
This is really direct. 77% plan to reskill and upskill their existing people, specifically to work more effectively alongside AI.
Training for collaboration.
Yes. And 69% plan to actively recruit new talent who are skilled in actually designing and implementing AI tools.
Bringing in AI expertise.
But here's the other side. Almost half, 41%, also anticipate reducing their workforce in areas where AI can automate tasks.
So it's both augmentation and substitution happening simultaneously.
It seems so. A pragmatic, maybe even aggressive approach to integrating AI that really puts the pressure on individuals to adapt quickly.
Okay, one last area before we wrap up. These are global trends, but how do they play out differently depending on where you are or what industry you're in? Any striking regional or industry variations?
Oh, absolutely. The context matters hugely. We'll take Eastern Asia. In a place like Japan, the impact of aging populations is felt much more acutely. Like 69% of employers there see it as transformative versus just 40% globally.
So nearly double the global average feeling that demographic pressure.
Exactly. Or look at Singapore. 64% of employers there expect geoeconomic fragmentation to be transformative, again, way above the global average of 34%. Local factors really amplify certain global trends.
What about barriers? Do they differ by region?
They do. In Eastern Asia, cultural resistance to change was cited as a significant barrier. In Europe, a big concern is just talent availability. 54% expect that to worsen. Latin America worries more about skills gaps and outdated regulations.
And somewhere like Austria projects a higher rate of human work being augmented by tech than the global average?
That's right, 42% of tasks augmented by 2030 in Austria versus 33% globally. So the pace and nature of tech integration varies.
What about different industries?
Also distinct patterns. Oil and gas, chemicals, and advanced materials, they show a really strong spike in demand for those environmental stewardship skills we talked about.
Makes sense given the pressure on those sectors.
Telecommunications really stands out for prioritizing design and user experience, cybersecurity, and programming, like double the global average focus on those skills.
Tailored needs for their specific business.
Exactly. And industries like mining and metals or automotive and aerospace expect a double whammy big impacts from both climate mitigation and geoeconomic fragmentation, reshaping their supply chains and operations significantly.
So the takeaway for you is that while the global trends are important, you really need to consider your specific location and industry to understand how these forces will likely affect your career path most directly.
Context is everything.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. We've taken a really deep dive into this Future of Jobs Report 2025.
And the picture that emerges is, well, it's complex, but I'd say ultimately hopeful.
Hopeful, even with all the disruption.
Yes, because despite the new drivers, AI, geopolitics, cost of living creating uncertainty, the report still finds a strongly net positive outlook for employment overall.
And that slowing rate of skill obsolescence we discussed.
Exactly. That's a key finding. The pace of change, while still incredibly fast, seems to be becoming slightly more manageable, maybe?
And employers seem more aware, more willing to adapt than perhaps in the past.
That's the sense I get from the report. Greater awareness, more proactive strategies around training and adaptation.
So the core message for the future of work is adaptability.
Absolutely. Adaptability is paramount. Understanding that technology, especially AI, is often going to be an augmentation tool, something to make you more effective, not just replace you.
It really underscores the critical importance of continuous learning, doesn't it?
Lifelong learning, strategic upskilling, and really leaning into those uniquely human skills. Creativity, critical thinking, empathy, collaboration, the things AI, at least for now, simply can't replicate. Their value is only increasing.
So let's end with a provocative thought for you listening. The report really emphasizes that the future of work isn't some predetermined path.
It's actively being shaped right now.
By the policies governments choose, the investments businesses make, and crucially, by the choices you make every day.
So the question becomes, what choices will you make? How will you navigate this evolving landscape, not just for your own career advancement, but maybe also to help shape a future of work that's more adaptable, more inclusive, and ultimately more human for everyone?